Now for those of you that have the Jeeps with the Infinity systems, one of the places they like to mount the amp is here, underneath the steering column. This is kind of cool because it keeps it high up off the ground, so if you're doing any water, as long as you keep it in the foot pedal area, you're not going to get the stereo wet. Now unfortunately, it's a really small amplifier as far as physical footprint goes, so it's hard to hide anything else back there. You have seen when we've put some of the sub amps back there, but fitting a 5-channel up in there is, with all the wires and stuff coming out, it's kind of difficult. I'd love to give it a try though. To get it out, you of course have to remove the panels right here. Then there's one 10mm bolt right here, and then amplifier just kind of wiggles forward. In the back, there are 2 rubber grommets that hold it in place. So you just gotta kind of pull and twist, and then it'll lift forward. And then the harnesses are facing towards the back. You just go ahead and pull this thing out. And then you have your harnesses right here. Now the other thing too is that there is the brake pedal that you have to contend with, so you have limited depth. I gotta be honest with you, this is pretty close. Huh. So this is the bracket here that holds the factory amplifier in place, and it's at a nice stiff 90, and it is attached to this with these 2 welds right here. It is kind of getting in the way of our amplifier. I feel that if it was flat, it'd be really close. Alright, let's get it out of this foam so we can kind of actually get a better view of what's going on here. Alright, so with the RCAs at the back on this side, power wires on this side, and there's nothing in the way of the power wire there. If I lift it up and bring it all the way forward like that, I feel that the hardest part of this may just be fastening it in, which has always been an issue for us when we put the sub amps there, is that it has a hard time. You know, you have to come up with some crazy ideas to get the amplifier to screw it in, because you can't go in with the panel attached most of the time because there's just not enough room to do it. I'll tell you what, let me play with this for a little bit, figure something out, and I'll get back to you. Alright, so it seems like a split second for you. It's been a little bit longer for me. I came up with a game plan to get the amplifier to fit up underneath the steering column, just like the factory. So the first thing I had to do was take this out. This is, like I said, that piece that was back in there holding the amplifier up, and I had to put it on my vise and flat into this thing out, get it nice and flat like a normal L bracket. But to get it out, I had to drill the welds, so that was a lot of fun. We went ahead and put 2 rivets back in it so that we could reattach it now that it's flattened out. Next, I went ahead and made an ABS template the exact size of the amplifier, and then added these 2 bolts in countersunk on the front side. And what these 2 guys are designed to do is match up to these holes here, these, and it's gonna sit like this up in the car. So I'll be able to screw the amplifier in place, just like that. And then the amplifier is gonna get attached to this. The power wire and everything will be going out towards the speaker because there's a lot more room in that cavity. So we're about ready to do the final test fitting. Let me go ahead and screw the amp to this. So the amp's attached. Went ahead and filed the screws flat on this side so I don't add any more scars to my arm. Let's go ahead and slide this in. Alright, there we go. So we'll just add the 2 bolts once we get it done, but this will hold up in place, and once it's in there, it'll be nice and tight, won't rock around or anything like that. So now all we need to do is connect all the speaker wires up. We're going to use the existing wiring for that because this is a small enough amplifier to do that. Run a sub wire back and get the power and ground up through the firewall. We're just going to need a 3-foot RCA to go from the amplifier into the radio. So let the fun begin. So so with mounting the amp there and the amplifier harness comes into it, I don't just want to screw the amplifier wires directly into here, because then I have to like go in a car and try to hang this thing up there, because they're kind of short. And I don't want to really lengthen them a whole bunch because they don't need to be any longer. Ideally, it would be nice if I just had the plug that plugged into the factory amp side and I'd be good to go. Unfortunately, I don't have one of those. Plan B is to take these guys here. These are just waterproof male and female connectors, and I'm going to connect one side to the amplifier and then the other side to in the car, and that way I can bring this into the car, I can click them together, and I can unclick them if I need to. It seems like a good compromise, so we're going to go ahead and get these attached here, and we'll take these and attach them in the car, and then we're just going to get the rest of our wiring done. Alright, so for the sub wire, we're going to use something that'll handle a little bit more current. These are called Dean's connectors. There's this little male end here and a little female end. These handle a lot more current than this will, and since how this is a, the subsection. So we're going to go ahead and use these so we can have a little pigtail for the subwoofer also. Alright, so the amplifier all set and ready to go. We have our RCAs on this side, 3-footers with a remote turn-on wire, protected so it can run up through the dash. On this side we have our 2 plugs that will plug into the factory amplifier. We have our plug for the speaker wire to run back to the subwoofer. Then we have our power and ground that are all shielded up and ready to go. All we have left to do is add these guys to the plug in the car so that we can plug them into here. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is take our tone generator and find our speakers. Found driver's front, which is 1. Go ahead and get that one all set. Now the next step is to find out what is positive and negative. Alright, so we have our positive. Alright, let's move on to our next pair. Now to do this testing, we're using this guy right here, which is the PT9A. What this does is create that cool popping, and then we're using this here to test what is positive and negative. Alright, now one note, if you are going to have to, like in this case, cut these wires, make sure you leave them long enough so that if you need to, you can reattach them. I hate it when I get into a car and I see where someone's cut them right there. Why would you do that? Leave a good 2.5, 3 inches on there so that you can reattach them if you need to at a later date. So we have our harnesses all set. We've marked them front and rear. We can go ahead and get them plugged in. We marked those front and rear, of course, too. Alright, the last thing we have to do is ground the amplifier, and there is a nice factory ground. There's actually two nice factory grounds right over here that we can attach to. So the amp is done. The only thing we're going to wait to do is screw it in until we're all set and ready to go, because when we go to tune it, we're going to have to lift it up and turn it a little bit. For right now, we're just going to leave it the way it is, and we'll move on to the next thing. For the subwoofer enclosure, we're going with this guy here. It's a Q-bomb, it's a down-firing box, it's rhino lined, but what we like to do is right here on the lip, this part right here, is we take a piece of 1-inch Centra and we go ahead and make a leg on it that rises it off the floor just a little bit. For one, if he gets water back there, it's, you know, even though it's rhino lined, I really don't trust it. But two, it gives us just a little bit more air underneath the woofer, which makes it breathe a little better, which gives us a little bit more bass. Let's go ahead and get the woofer in. For this, we're doing the Comp RT 10-inch subwoofer. Adding that little space, that extra 1 inch, really helps this woofer, because this woofer, as you can see, it's kind of thick. The way the surround sticks out, and then this plastic, this rises up a lot. To give it just that extra inch, way more bass. Alright, so we have a dual 1 ohm, so we want to go 2 ohm on this. So we're going to make a jumper across the back. Alright, now we have a 2 ohm woofer when we connect to these two remaining terminals. For this Chrysler harness, we've went ahead and removed all the wires that we're not going to be using, such as the speaker wires and anything else. And now what we're going to do is, because we're adding a backup camera, we're going to go ahead and add in a relay, because this is the LC, which means it doesn't have enough output to do the radio and the backup camera. And for those of you that don't remember how to hook up a relay, 85 goes to ground, 86 is the accessory coming out of the smart harness, 30 is constant 12 volts, and then 87 is going to be our new accessory output. Now make sure whatever wires that you're not using for whatever reason, whether it's on this side or this side, if you're not using them, either remove them or cap them off. Don't think that just because you snip the end and put some tape over it, it's going to stay safe. They typically don't. Our harness is complete. We have our relay here for more power. We have our LC power plug, the radio power plug, and then we have our blue remote turn on and our red and black accessory output to turn on the camera when the key turns on. Now we'll go ahead and get this into the car. Remember, on these NEX, the subwoofer comes default off, so you want to make sure you turn it on. And also, camera, go in and backup camera interrupt, make sure you turn it on. Otherwise, it's not going to know to turn on when that purple white wire gets a trigger. So we'll go ahead and try that now. And there we go. We have our backup camera. Right now the door is still open. Oh, look at that, somebody's dude on a bike. And that's why you have a backup camera. All right, let me grab the speaker polarity disc.
good.
So on to the next set of tests. But first, we're gonna put this dash on. So we just finished tuning and we're screwed the amplifier in. So there we go, the amplifier's mounted. As we can see from underneath, these here, this and this are the bolts we were talking about. So now it is in there, nice and secure. I mean, this is rock solid. Plenty of room for it to breathe on the top there. Here's what the tweeter looks like once it's mounted in place. So now it's down here. As you can see, this is a really big tire. So we want to make sure that we can see past that. Let's hop in, put it in reverse, and see what it looks like with the door closed. There we go. You can actually see the top of the tire still right here. So that's why I wanted to make sure I got it out far enough, because those cameras are super wide angle.
Can you see me?
I can see you.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Alright guys, this Jeep was a lot of fun. It's nice to do a couple things different every now and then. Mounting the amp underneath the steering wheel is the first time we've done that. I didn't think it would fit. I'm kind of surprised that it did. That means that's one more thing we're probably going to have to do more and more of. Yay. As we love to say, on to the next one. Bye.